limitless numbers of poor country folk making their way to the big cities to seek their fortune under the new economic order. Traveling at night, with their bundles of possessions with them, they have a sort of refugee-like quality to them, though perhaps they're really economic migrants. China lacks an efficient road system, so for them the train really is the only way to travel. My next port of call was another birthplace, Qufu, the hometown of the great Chinese philosopher Confucius. Confucius was born here in 551 BC and became an official in the local state. During his lifetime, his teachings were not especially regarded, but after his death, his sound bites of philosophy were taken up almost as a religion throughout China.
How many is it? 1, 2, 3, 5? 5. That's what I'm offering you. Yeah. 5. Well, that is 5.
Naturally, I wanted to buy a copy of his works, and luckily enough, I was able to find someone who was prepared to sell me one.
Right, thank you. It's full of snappy sayings.
Confucianism was suppressed by communism, but its legacy is now back in fashion. The simple-minded tourist is even able to dress up like Confucius to have his picture taken.
Me all right? Taken silk at last. Oh, excellent. That's it. Oh, I think this is more like a judge's robes. Slightly smaller size have you got? No? Oh, and a beard. Yes, absolutely. I must have a beard. Slightly small on the beard department and large on the belt department. Okay, yep. Yeah, I shouldn't move them around. Can't eat a lot through this, can you? I'm in no way behaving like a tourist here, am I? This is, I don't... What do I do? Stick my foot out like that? Oh, and I walk. Oh, I see. Oh, right. Ah. It's not made for my size. I just hold it like that. Hang on, I'll put this in my head.
Despite the tourist traps, there is one part of Qufu which is truly atmospheric, the Confucian forest. For 2,000 years, it has been the burial ground for Confucius and all his descendants, the family Kong. Grouped around the forest are memorials to successive generations of the family in a variety of structures and styles. Here in these ancient woods, one is surrounded by a strange calm among the dead of China's past, uncluttered by China's present. Later that night, I had to get back on the train to Beijing, along with what appeared to be the entire population of the region.
Well, there seems to be two ways of getting on this train. You either queue for half a mile or you climb in the roof. Well, I'm English, for goodness sake. I'm going to just queue. The only disadvantage of that is that obviously you don't get on the train, do you? Excuse me. You're all in the queue for the same, yeah.
Inside the station, there are vast waiting rooms with even more people, waiting more or less patiently for a train to somewhere, or I suppose, to anywhere. As the purchaser of the higher price tickets sold to foreigners, I made my privileged way through the chaos. Until suddenly, men in a variety of uniforms took exception to our filming and arrested my cameraman.
Oh, well, it was all right in the end. We only had to wait till about It was about 2:30, 3 o'clock for another train to come in. We managed to argue our way onto that. Another couple of hours just sorting out where we're going to sleep. Unfortunately, I got into this soft class sleep, which was great. The director had to sleep hard class because it's his fault that we got arrested in the first place. But here we are, on my way to Beijing. The countryside is all... Well, you probably can't see it through the steamy window, but I got through the night with my sayings of Confucius, which I now know off by heart practically. Here's one, for example. The master said, "I once spent a whole day without food and a whole night without sleep in order to meditate. I found no advantage in it. It's better to learn." I'm with him there, definitely.
So, bleary-eyed, I arrived in Beijing, which you can call Peking if you're determined to be old-fashioned about it. China's capital city is a fascinating mixture of the old and the new. Part 20th century, part Dickensian in feel, but with a definite flavour all of its own. In the timeless backwaters of Beijing, where the old men come out in the warm weather to sing songs, play cards and mahjong, and air their caged birds, I met arguably the most extraordinary person I came across throughout my entire journey. Now an English lecturer, Professor Yi had been closely involved in the founding of Mao's new China. His duties had included reviewing the position of a writer condemned by Mao, but finding no fault, he'd spoken his mind and sealed his own fate. He was sent to a labor camp in China's frozen north, where for over 20 years he was forced to work at temperatures as much as 40 degrees below zero.
So I contracted bronchitis. That's why I have so much phlegm.
Yes.
And sometimes I cough a lot.
Yeah. Do you think in modern day China there are still people sent to labor camps for expressing contrary views, or is that a thing of the past now?
No more. China, in that field, China has made very great progress.
Yeah.
If only you are not seriously opposed to the government.
Yes. Well, we saw, around the world those pictures of Tiananmen Square when the protests built up. Do you think
that is not a matter of political opinion. That is a matter of action. At first, the demonstration was against the corruption. That was sacred. That was inviolable.
Yeah.
So I gave my full support to the students. I went there and talked with them.
This is in Tiananmen Square?
Tiananmen Square.
Yeah.
Had I not been exhausted that evening, I might also have been gunned down in the street. Sorry, I'm very sorry. To this day, I'm still very sorry for those dead on the street. However, I have to confess that the crackdown was for stability, and what we badly need is stability. Now,
well, my point, so I take your point that stability is necessary and vital, but if you allow governments to do things which are not questioned and there's no challenge, then awful things can occur instead just on a grand scale. The Great Leap Forward, where millions of people died in
not good
China
enough.
from starvation.
Not good enough. If it can be avoided, it must be avoided, because the past lessons are already very serious, too serious.
Yeah.
The Cultural Revolution was incredible for you Westerners.
Yes. So do you think the market economy is going to work for China?
Very good for China.
Yeah.
It is a lesson given by reality.
Yeah.
Why the Eastern European states have been overwhelmed, and where as the Soviet Union collapsed.
Yes.
That's a lesson.
Yes. And who is the driving force behind this? Is this Deng Xiaoping?
Of course, Deng is a great man.
Yes.
He's even more, I think, more capable than Mao.
Yes.
We hope that he can live 10 years longer,
Yeah.
and then everything will be irreversible.
Yes. Well, it's quite likely he won't live another 10 years, though, isn't he? He's 88.
He's in good
Good-
health.
good health,
Last year, he still went to KBDI-TV to swim
Yes.
in the seawater.
Mao Zedong used to do that, didn't he? He used to go and swim and show how fit he was.
Then it's shorter. I was told that shorter can live longer than longer.
Oh, right. You think so? Well, that's good, because I'm not very tall, so...
The bizarre thing is that in Tiananmen Square, the events of 1989 now seem like they never happened at all. I don't know what I expected to find. Bloodstains on the concrete, bullet holes in the buildings. Of course, everything has been restored, and even the red flags give it a carnival atmosphere, rather than a place of class struggle. Happy days are here again. The train north from Beijing takes you up to the Great Wall. It's often asserted, rather implausibly, that the Great Wall of China is the only man-made structure visible from outer space. Whatever the truth of that, it's certainly something you have to see if you're in China on your way to Outer Mongolia. Stretching for 2,500 miles, the wall was originally built to keep the barbarians out, but now pulls us in. My next stop is the mining and railway town of Datong, 200 miles across the Loess Plateau. In the south of China, they grow rice. But this is mud country. Muddy fields, mud walls, mud houses. One good downpour, and you feel the whole place would just wash away. The atmosphere in Datong is a swirling mist of coal dust and sulfur, with, on a good day, just a dash of oxygen. A town still in the grip of industrial revolutionary fervor. Datong's renowned railway factory used to be famous for its steam engines. It's all diesel and electric now, but the factory cheerfully accepts visitors to see locomotives being constructed, unhampered by some of the more intrusive safety regulations which are such a check on productivity in England. But Datong had its real glory days at the time of the Northern Wei dynasty in the 5th century AD. Dating from those days are the Yugang Buddhist caves. These feature statues and carvings of the Buddha and his disciples and events in his life cut into caves at the foot of the Wushu Shan mountain. Over half a mile of caves, over 50,000 statues, 1,500 years old. rare survivors through China's many changes of rulers, regimes, and reconstructions. Originally, the caves had buildings in front of them, but now the Buddhas look serenely out from their island of beauty, directly over Datong's industrial wasteland. For the last stretch of my journey, I have to join what is part of the Trans-Siberian Express. This will take me in 24 hours or thereabouts to Ulaanbaatar. As it happened, the first people I met on the train were British, Queen's messengers, taking diplomatic baggage in mysterious white bags to our men in Mongolia.
Some potato salad?
Oh yeah, great, thanks.
Okay.
Do you always travel with your own food on these trains?
Yes, we do. We used to in the past use the restaurant car quite a lot, but standards are variable, and I think that's being very kind to the standards.
Well, I've had some good meals actually on the
Really?
trains coming up. Yes, they're very pleasant.
The bad sections, no, it's from early onwards. We get over on the UB side.
So you travel with this luxury food of corned beef and naffy
So on the pickle?
salad. No, thank you. No, that's fine.
Good.
And you bring your own beer, I see.
Yes, the odd glass of beer goes down very well.
Does
Breaks
it?
the monotony.
Does it? Yes.
Yes.
Well,
It's actually.
It looks very nice.
Well, do have one.
Oh, thank you. No glass for me, then.
Of course
No,
not.
that's all right.
Well, you're the visitor.
Yeah.
No, you see,
Gotta
on the train, Sons of Revolution only give you so much stuff.
Yeah.
And you get a glass each and a cup with a lid
Yeah.
each. And occasionally, if you're very lucky, you get a tin tray like this you can
Yeah.
put your stuff in. And that's about it. But actually, it's very comfortable. And apart from the dust. it's
You've
not
got a
bad.
very particular. This is first class compartment?
This is first class.
I've been near one of these before. Now.
Well, there you go. You're
Is
traveling.
it the Foreign Office that funds you, or?
No, we pay for this ourselves.
Yeah. Well, also the Foreign Office has got more money than the BBC. We think it's a triumph to get into soft class sleepers for a bit. Yeah, there's a whole new world opening up here.
Yeah. Well, it's because we have to have proper repository for the bags to keep them
Naturally,
safe.
the bags.
And so that's it.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's excuse.
But do they need that jacuzzi through there?
Yes, very much so, yes. God, he's rumbled us, Morris.
At the border, there is a lengthy delay at customs as the train is checked for traders smuggling silk to Moscow. And an even greater delay because Mongolia has a different railway gauge from that of China. It's past midnight, below zero, and in a shed at the edge of the Gobi Desert, my train is pulled to pieces.
Well, this may be all stale news to railway buffs, but I had no idea what changing the bogies involved. I had an impression of maybe somebody would come on and just pull the wheels about a bit and kick them around, but each carriage has been lifted up on enormous jacks, and the whole bogie unit's taken out, and a new one hoisted in. It's a fantastic sight here.
The difference in railway gauge is a very physical demonstration of the divide between China and Mongolia. The Mongolians were the first to embrace the communist revolution, as much as anything to throw off Chinese domination. And what they got was Russian domination for something like 60 years. In the morning, the open spaces of Mongolia are quite a relief after the almost claustrophobic feel of overcrowded China. For mile after mile, there's nothing for the driver to see but the odd steppe eagle taking off from a fence post, and the odd piece of sinister-looking equipment abandoned by the Russians when they left the country 3 or 4 years ago. And every now and then, an encampment of Mongolian yurts or gurs, semi-permanent homes halfway between tents and houses, developed for their nomadic lifestyle. But mostly in Mongolia, there is plenty of nothing. On the train, elaborate Chinese food is still being made, but not in the kitchens. These exquisite dumplings are being prepared by one of the Chinese guards for himself. The restaurant car has gone Mongolian.
Could I have some soup? And then the main course is just that one. It's a roast meat with rice. You recommend that?
No drink?
No, I'll have a beer. Yes, please.
Chinese beer.
Chinese beer? Is there Mongolian beer?
No.
Okay, Chinese beer then. Fine. Excellent. Well, the strange thing about this train is that further down the train, there's the Chinese guard who's set himself as a little chef to eat cooking Chinese food, because the Chinese don't rate Mongolian food for some reason. And there's our friends, the Queen's messengers, who are serving out bully beef for any English people they can find. And for the only person eating Mongolian food on the train is me.
Back on one of the train's heating stoves, the guard has produced a delicious meal. Perfect.
Nice drop of soup. Not quite sure about the stringy bits of meat. A bit too many of those for me, but very good drop of soup. Move on to my next course, which already arrived, which is rice with stringy bits of meat.
Ulaanbaatar, my journey's end.
Thank you very much.
Outer Mongolia is one of the classically remote places, right up there with Timbuktu and the back of beyond. The Mongolians, though, hark back to a time when their empire ruled half the world, has a miserable climate, an ailing economy, and the food is awful. Coming from Britain, I felt immediately at home. Actually, I fell immediately in love with Mongolia and the Mongolians. There are only 2 million Mongolians, only 1/3 of the population of Hong Kong, occupying more than 1,000 times the space. They're now opening up to the outside world and on the receiving end of a baffling array of cultural influences. But capitalism is now going to save the country. In a former theatre in the city's central Sukhpatar Square, a stock exchange has been established in which all of Mongolia's people, nomadic herdsmen the lot, can buy and sell shares in the formerly state-run industries. This brave new scheme is the brainchild of a confident young man called Zolzagl.
2 years ago, Mongolian economy was 100% state-owned.
Yeah.
Today, I can definitely say 50% of industry is now in private hands.
Yeah. So each citizen of Mongolia was given a voucher they could buy, what, the electric company or the waterworks or things like that?
Yes, each citizen born before a certain date.
Yes.
So kids who's 1 month old kid and 60 years old man, they receive vouchers.
All right. Well, as you replace the communist way of life, then there tends to be a sort of shakedown of people employed. Do you anticipate that will be a problem? The state industries are privately run, need fewer people.
Certainly, some of them have to go bankrupt. And I believe somewhere around 30% unemployment rate we can respect.
30%, yeah.
And that's exactly the percent of the unemployment. I believe it's absolutely necessary if you're doing this kind of a transition from one system to the another system.
That's a price worth paying, you think, 30% unemployment? Right.
We have to change our basics.
Yeah.
And to change basics, we really have to suffer.
Yeah.
And it's a common knowledge, and everybody have to understand it.
Right.
If somebody is dreaming that everything will be very smooth and without any pain,
Yes.
it's just dreamer.
Other dreams have passed away. Above the city stands a massive memorial to great Soviet achievements. Protected by a round-the-clock guard while the Russians were still in charge, it now stands slowly falling to bits. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Mongolia didn't get close to the communist ideal, and it remains a long way from a capitalist paradise. Many of Ulaanbaatar's citizens are moving out of its crumbling apartment blocks and back to their traditional gurs on the edge of the city, where traditions of hospitality remain as warm as ever. But I wonder, are these young Mongolians the nomadic herdsmen or the financial whiz-kids of the future? One way or another, I really hope Mongolia finds a way forward, and I find a way of coming back to see it succeed.
Well, Ulaanbaatar this time of the year is really quite nippy, which is why I'm wearing this Mongolian hat to keep me warm. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking I look completely ridiculous, and in a sense I suppose you're right, because at this low temperature you should wear it with your flaps down like that, where I look much more sensible, don't I? Well, it's been a great journey. I've really enjoyed coming all this way, and I hope you've enjoyed following it with me. I think I've turned myself into a real traveller now. All my little gripes and whinges about diseases have gone out the window, my eye cleared up, and I've gone all the way through China eating the most exotic food in the most unusual circumstances. Not any sort of twinge. Until, that is, I accepted that corned beef from the Queen's messages on the train on the last leg of the journey, and that has set off something which I might just have to go and deal with down there. Anyway, thanks for being with me. Bye.
Trumpeter Wynton Marsalis teams up with jazz vocalist Sarah Vaughan for an evening of soulful music with John Williams and the Boston Pops Orchestra. Evening of Pops is next here on Public Television Channel 12.
American Express. All you have to do is call up, and any one of our operators here